Hey, it's Adri with her horse. Today we're going to be discussing something that can make your horse look nice, beautiful, and polished, or, depending on your skill set, make your horse look butchered. And that is trimming your horse's mane and tail. If you've ever grabbed scissors and then immediately regretted it, this video is for you. I'm going to show you why you'd trim these areas when you absolutely shouldn't, and exactly how to do it without making your horse look like they lost a bet. So why would people want to trim their horse's mane? There's a few different reasons. Show ring presentation is a big one. Many disciplines prefer a thin, short, or pulled mane. And a lot of disciplines require braiding, and that's easier to do if the mane is even and short. People might also want to trim their horse's mane and tail for neatness and management purposes. Super thick manes do trap sweat, and it's a lot easier to clean and dry a mane that's a little more manageable. Having a shorter mane also prevents tangles and getting caught under bridles and halters. And of course, for discipline preference. For example, hunters. Hunters are required to have even braided mane. Some Western disciplines prefer the long natural look, and for dressage, they're usually allowed to have longer manes, but they gotta be tidy. So that's just a few reasons why you might be trimming your horse's mane. So without further ado, let's go to the barn. How to trim your horse's forelock, mane, and tail. So let's get right into it. Starting with the forelock, because this is super easy, and some people I think overcomplicate it. So you're gonna wanna make sure that your horse's mane, forelock, tail, it's all clean and dry. I just brushed it out. I don't know if you can tell or not, probably not, but it is clean and dry. The best way is to, after you brush it, gather it all up and do the twist method. So that's literally all you do. You twist and then you snip. That way it's not a blunt cut, and when you fan it out, it looks a little bit like that. Now, if you want to get real snazzy about it, if your horse tolerates it, I'm gonna go on a step stool for this because I'm vertically challenged. And you see how when we twist it, it makes the sides a little bit shorter, a little more angled on the side. So if your horse tolerates it, you can make micro trims with your scissors at roughly a 90-degree angle. Hey girly, just make tiny little cuts just to the outer sides. Good girl. Now you don't want to do a huge cut on the forelock because the forelock is very important for protecting their eyes. Hi girly, it's like an extra set of eyelashes. Good girl. Okay. And then I'm gonna go ahead and brush that through, see how we do. And like we're at the hairdresser, I'm just gonna give it a little floof. A little floof. All right, now on to the tail. Now you might be wondering, why the heck would you trim the tail? A couple different reasons. The reason I trim my horse's tail is because it gets pretty long and we're in a very muddy area where if the temperature gets above freezing, it just turns into like a puddle of mud up there. So for hygienic reasons, depending on if you have a certain riding discipline, some people cut it really short around the hock area. I kind of like to just keep it nice and long so she can use her tail for, you know, like a fly swatter. So I cut it around the fetlock, so don't have to take very much off of her tail at all. Now for this, you do want to do a blunt cut. So just figure out where you're gonna cut your tail, which is right around the fetlock joint. Gather it up and do a nice cut right across. Like so. See, not very much at all. I'm just gonna take my brush and brush the tail, make sure I didn't accidentally leave behind long pieces because that's gonna look pretty silly. So actually, we did pretty good. I think there's only a couple of little hairs that are a little longer. There we go. Some people recommend having a second holder for the tail to kind of lift it up a little bit and cutting it where it's going to fall when their tail is up. We're not that fancy around here. I'm not doing it for looks, so that's the tail done. Let's go over when you should not trim a horse's tail. There's a couple instances where you wouldn't want to do anything to it. In the dead of winter, believe it or not, their tail can be away. They keep their body heat to themselves. You know, like those draft stoppers that you put at the bottom of your door? That's kind of what the horse's tail does in the winter time. So I don't ever cut it too short in the winter, but because we do get some mud, I will trim the bottom of the tail. You also wouldn't trim your horse's tail if your discipline prefers a natural look. And lastly, if you're emotional, put the scissors down now. You might think this is the answer. You might think this is the time and the place, but it's not. Do it when you're emotionally stable. I've done that before where I wanted to feel accomplished and cut my horse's mane and tail. And oh my goodness, the results were not what you would have it. On to the mane. Make sure, of course, it's nice and combed through, so that it's not gonna snag or have any knots while you're cutting it. Good girly. So she's got a very thick mane. When you cut a horse's mane that has a very thick mane, it is going to not get weighed down as much as it was, and it's gonna bounce a little more. So if you have a horse with a thick mane, it's best to cut a little longer than where you'd like, because remember, it's gonna bounce up a little bit. Now, certain disciplines like hunter, they like a nice short mane. They like them braided. So 4 to 5 inches if you do a hunter discipline. We just pleasure ride, so I'll just cut off a little bit, kind of like that. There's a couple of reasons you might want to trim the mane other than for riding disciplines. It is a little easier to manage a mane if it's shorter. The thick manes can really trap sweat, trap a lot of mud. They can get tangled, so it can be a maintenance preference as well. Let's go ahead, get started. So, gonna take your scissors. If your mane is terribly long, you can do a blunt cut all the way across just to shorten it. Otherwise, it's gonna take you ages to cut the mane. Her mane is not so long. We've only been growing it out over the winter months, really. So I don't need to do a blunt cut to start. You're gonna hold your scissors. If you have shearing scissors, that's preferable. You can go ahead and use those if you got them. If not, like me, I'm a little bit of a uncultured person. I'm using kitchen scissors. So what I'm gonna do is angle my scissors at a 45-degree angle. If you imagine a clock, you're gonna be pointing your scissors at the 10. And it's gonna look pretty crazy at first, pretty jagged, but that's okay. This is our first cut. As we make it shorter and shorter, we're gonna take smaller cuts. Gonna brush it through. Good girl. So the first layer of cutting, it's gonna be pretty dramatic, ugly, jagged cuts just to help you shorten the mane. And then your second run through, you're gonna be doing similar jagged cuts, still at the 45-degree angle. You're just not gonna be cutting into the mane as deep. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can cut your mane from just behind the poll all the way down the withers, and then do another few millimeters above that and just keep doing it from right to left. I like to do big chunks, like a couple inches in the front behind the poll, as you can see in this clip, and then work my way back. I just think it's more visually satisfying. So you can do whatever you like. The end result will be the same. It's a trusted process kind of deal. It looks a little ugly, but by the end, it looks pretty beautiful, pretty natural. So give it a go. You can see that the cut looks a little extreme, a little bit ugly, but this is actually the way I prefer to do it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I was like, oh, she tried to do that again. Now, as you can see, this is the part of the mane where I and many people struggle, because this part of the horse's mane grows a little weirdly, especially on my horse. It's kind of like a cowlick on a horse, where it sits on the left side of her neck and the rest of it sits on the right side. So what I like to do is take the portion of the mane that goes almost underneath the pommel of my saddle and I will just take some clippers and shave it down. But at this particular time, I did not have clippers with me, so I had to do the whole scissor cutting of that part of the mane over the withers. It always trips me up. If you have a better way to do it, let me know in the comments. Now, when you're done doing the majority of your cutting, because her mane is so thick, I like to kind of angle it underneath. Make sure I've got the underside as well. And give it a good brush out. Do little micro cuts to finish it off, because we want it to look a little more natural. We don't really want it super boxy looking. Nobody wants a bowl cut, right, girl? And this way, if we ever did want to braid our mane for any reason, it would be a little easier to do. And if you're not comfortable with scissors, you can always use clippers. The same idea, it's just more of a hack job, more room for error. Because you can go real slow, as you can see, to get exactly the length you want. And something I found is that over the next couple days, you might notice like a weird, like little hair that was like caught up underneath. Like for example, when I go like that, you're like, oh my goodness gracious. So you can just be like, snip it, and then undercut it, make it look. There's another method. Instead of cutting the horse's mane like that, you can thin it out by doing what's called pulling the mane. Now, I don't do that with her. I don't think she would find it very comfortable to have done. But theoretically, if you wanted to, you take a bit of mane, you take a comb, and you tease it up, and you just keep teasing and teasing, teasing until you have like just a little bit of mane left. You wrap it around your comb and you go, and you pull it. Sorry, girl. And that's a way to thin the mane. Thinning the mane is good for people who like to braid their horse's mane. That looks pretty even. Yeah, if you just keep your head like that, Saoirse, that would be perfect. Okay. She looks pretty beautiful, don't you think? Now, because we're doing this in the end of winter time, she's got a big thick coat, so she's got a little bit of chopped fur here. Just ignore that. Nobody's claiming to be a perfectionist. Oh, just a little PSA. This is how I do it. You do not have to do it this way. There are other ways to do it. If there's another way that you prefer, that's fine. As long as the end result is the same, doesn't actually matter how you do it. Hit the subscribe button for more helpful, real, practical horse care advice. No fluff, no guesswork, just honest horsemanship. It's Adri with her horse. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.